It's not easy being blue.
Evening everyone, and welcome back to the Not Quite Monday assessment by the view from the Medway Fancast, sponsored by Snodder, Shoes Car Sales and Service Station and Wicked Creative, and in partnership with Sports Social Podcast Network and Her Game 2. We travelled to Chesterfield last night and generously decided the narrative early, conceding after 16 minutes to Sam Curtis, a goal born from a defensive strategy known as politely observing events. From that moment on, the match entered its experimental phase. Can the football team have possession for over an hour while posing the same level of threat as a sleeping houseplant? The answer, after extensive testing, was yes. Bradley Dack launched one over the bar, which briefly alarmed the passing satellite, and Ronan Hale produced a shot that required the goalkeeper to acknowledge employment. Chesterfield, meanwhile, calmly watched us attempt to invent a danger like a group project nobody prepared for. Full time, 1-0. A scoreline that suggests a close game, but in reality, like a majority of games this season, we just wasn't good enough. It's nice to know that the players don't feel any pressure to win though, isn't it? I'm joined this evening by Mike Gammon and a late minute replacement in Bex. Appreciate you coming on, Bex. It was literally like 5 minutes ago that I sent the message out for you to come on because I can't get hold of Mitchell. So yeah, that's brilliant. So how are you?
All good, mate. All good.
All good. Ready to discuss this, whatever this is.
Yeah, great fun.
trying to X is still messing up, so I'm just trying. It's not allowing me to do it. Brilliant. 1 second. Let's have a look. Right. Anyway, whatever. Got it. We will quickly move on. So, evening, everyone, and yeah, we're going to talk about this game or lack of game from last night. I don't really know where to start with it, but I guess a good pointer would be to start with the lineups, wouldn't it? So we had Glenn Morrison go at the back five, Romeo Hutton, Andy Smith, Omar Beckles, Sam Gale and Max Clark. We then had Robin McKenzie and Little in the middle, Dack in at the 10, Andrews and Hale up front. So Bex, I'll go with you first and your thoughts on the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, that's fairly close to how I probably would have lined them up. I don't necessarily think there was anything wrong with the way that we put the team out. Obviously, Hutton and Clark were put in to have some width. I did notice that Chesterfield's lineup had width at the front as well as at the back, which kind of left Hutton and Clark dealing with 2-on-1 at some points. But mostly, that's probably the team I would have put out, to be fair. Yeah,
and Mike, yourself?
For me, yeah, I mean, similar to what Beck said, the lineup, you know, on face value, doesn't actually look that bad. You know, considering what we've got. I mean, the only thing that I would probably have as a difference would be Smith for Akamea. That would be the only difference that I would have, you know, put in there, because I know, as we all know, Andy Smith is capable of like 4 out of 10 performances or 8 out of 10 performances with very little in between. So when you've got an away game against someone who's like, you know, pushing for playoffs in Chesterfield, you want to be putting out your strongest team. And I think, you know, Smith for Akamea would probably be the only change that I'd make there, because presumably Andrews is up front because Folks hasn't got the legs to sort of, you know, churn out game after game after game. So yeah, it, on the face value of it, it was pretty standard for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to get pelters for this, but for me, like, Robbie hasn't really done a lot in the last few games to be in the starting lineup. I just think that it's all very well and good. Like, Swiss Army man, he can play anywhere. I just don't think that he gives us enough in the middle. I think it's too slow in progression. It's too slow in transition. I just feel that I would have put Lenny at left wing back. If you're going to play that kind of formation, you definitely need to have a balance on right and left. So to put Clark there, who doesn't really get forward, and when he does, it's looping balls, and you know the defence have got about a million years to see what's going to happen. The same with Hutton, to be fair. But Hutton's good going forward, but when he puts a ball in, it's like so high up in the air, you can sit there and read a bloody novel by the time it actually comes down. I I would like to have seen Akamea start, because I think at Crewe he was very good.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, he was part of the problem for the goal, but just the spine of this team for me, like, we keep chopping and changing the spine every week, right? And for me, you've got your goalkeeper, you've got your centre back, you've then got your midfielder, you've got your attacking midfielder as it will be, and then you've got your strikers. It's okay, like, okay, I'm just going to pick that team, but when you're sitting there and you're like, well, who's playing where and what's happening? And, you know, it's got to be confusing, not only for us as fans, but the players themselves, Mike, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying about moving the ball a bit quicker and like how Mackenzie's not capable of that. But when you look at the squad that we got as an overall, we haven't got that at all in any player that we've got in the middle of the park, you know, maybe apart from Daki kind of thing. But, you know, in terms of like moving the ball, we're working with what we've got, and what we've got is just like, it hasn't got the same pace and drive as what Chesterfield showed us, like they had with Braybrook, for example. You know, coming at us and going back to what Bex was saying about, like, you know, the width and everything like that. If we had Sereno on the left-hand side, then I think we would have been exposed even more so, because they were still finding gaps, even though we had 5 at the back. It was just really, really strange how they were still able to find all those gaps despite that many bodies, you know, being at the back. And I think Sereno would have only exasperated that situation.
Yeah.
What I thought as well is that, especially during the first half, Smith and Gale were a long way up the pitch. I mean, Smith had a shot on goal. So did Gale. They were in attacking positions for quite a lot of the first half, which means when you lose the ball, who's defending? The midfield aren't getting back quick enough to cover it. They've got to run the whole length of the pitch. And I think if you're playing them in the sort of central roles in defence, they need to be staying further back and letting Hutton and Clark make the runs. Otherwise, you might as well put them in as the wing backs. It just seemed a bit odd to me that those were the two that seemed to be getting so high up the pitch.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sorry, guys. I'm still trying to get this bloody X thing to work, but anyway, never mind.
Is it a talk amongst yourselves situation?
No, so we move on. We move on to the game itself, and we lost 1-0, of course. So I want to talk about the first 15 minutes in isolation before we get on to the rest of the game. Thought that we looked okay. Everyone says that, some people say that we looked better than what I would class that we were. I think that we were in their final third and we were just chucking long balls in. So, Bex, I'll go with you and your thoughts on the first 15 minutes, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, we had most of the possession, I think, in the first 15 minutes. I don't think they even managed to get the ball out of their own half. So there was no doubt that we were on top. But as you say, once the ball was getting into the box, everyone was just swinging at it and hoping for the best. I think Hale had a shot that was kind of just straight at the keeper. It wasn't ever really going to challenge. And I think I was sat there sort of going, oh, yeah, this is all right. This is all right. But then this is what we did against Crewe. And this is what we've been doing in every game lately. And it's about to go horribly wrong. I know we're going to concede in a minute, which we did. And I think if we're going to have that early dominance and we're going to have people firing forward and trying to get going quickly, they have got to start scoring an early goal.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, I think that's quite correct, really. And I'm so deflated with this team at the moment. So I'll go with you before we get to the goal itself, because, you know, Sam Gale should have done a hell of a lot better. And it was so easy. But, you know, the way that we were in the first 15, I thought, and I was sitting there and I was just thinking to myself, yeah, this is a lot better. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better. And your thoughts on that before the goal, mate. And then I'll go with you as well with the corner that eventually led to the goal. And the question there would be, we've gone from being a team that can, you know, we were so good at defending, and the last few games, it's like set pieces have just literally pulled us apart.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with the first bit then. So first 15 minutes. Now, any normal football fan watching a game like that would think in those first 15 minutes playing like that, you think, okay, if we keep knocking on the door like this, something good will come. But being a Gills fan, you're always thinking like, are we going to get caught out? Are we going to get caught out with a set piece or on the break or something like that? Because it's happened so many times before, and we've been there before. We've got PTSD from it and everything like that. And I think even probably the players are thinking that at some point as well, because they've been through that mill so many times before. So, you know, the first 15 minutes were okay. I wouldn't say it was exceptional or anything like that. Depending on who the ball was coming from, sometimes it was creating space for Hale to run onto, which was a ball from Dacky in the first 15 minutes. But, you know, then you've got players like Little who can't pass more than 3 yards at the moment for some inexplicable reason. You know, he even tried doing a sort of like little fancy pass kind of thing, and he completely fluffed it and left us exposed. And he did that a couple of times in the game overall. But so first 15 minutes were okay. I thought, you know, if it's like this for an extended period of time, maybe we'll get something, because we seem to be the kind of team that requires a lot of chances to just get one, and that's how we've been for a little while now. Going on to the whole thing about the corner and the goal and how it sucked the life out of us, it really did. So, I mean, first of all, I have to give credit, and I'm probably going to get pelters for this one. You have to give credit to Chesterfield how they played that set piece, because that player had to make up a hell of a lot of ground, losing Andy Smith in the process, glancing that header across. And then, yeah, absolutely, Gailey, he needed to do a lot better with that. He had the look of like panic and confusion, like it was a wet shower curtain on him. And by the time he realised what was going on, he's already been violated, and it's too late, and now you're left with regretting your life choices. So that's the kind of look that was on his face with that. And yeah, he had to do a hell of a lot better. He really did. But he knows that. He'll know that.
Yeah, and I think your missus would kind of like to violate Sam Gale, but you know,
that's the reason I don't want him at right back. He'll be too close to the side of the pitch.
Okay, so we will move on after the goal, and Bex, I'll get your view on the goal yourself before we do. It was just too easy, wasn't it? And it was so like congested, and it was like no one really knew what they were doing, did they?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it was a bit of a mess. And I think if you did like a freeze frame of the moment when Gale tries to defend it, it almost looks like he's trying to strike it, because he's just swinging so wildly at it. And there was a lot of bodies in the box, but at the same time, you've got to look at it from their angle. They did what I'd like to see us do, and they put it into the box hard, low, lots of bodies in there, lots of chaos. There's always a chance it's going to come off someone and go into the goal, as opposed to when we take corners and they go floating in high and everyone spends 10 years watching it come down and go, oh, we can just header it out now. So I think from our point of view, it was a bad goal to concede. From their point of view, it was a well-taken set piece.
Yeah. And to be fair, like these are the kind of things, and I watched it in the first half, and I kind of watched it in the second half as well, where like they'd get the ball and they'd play between the lines, and you know, just like, why can't? And I do it every single game that I've watched this season. Like, we look so easy to play against, we look so easy to play through, and I'm just sitting there like, why can't we do that? Why can't we be that team that actually, rather than hoofing it, rather than, oh, okay, we play out to the wingers and hope for the best, or hoofball? What is it, Bex, that we can't seem to do any of that?
So I think most of the teams that we've played that have been at the top half of the table have either a lot of pace through the middle. So when they break in big numbers and they all get up the pitch very, very fast, which makes it difficult to defend against. Or they play it up the pitch with quick passing, but they have a high percentage of accuracy with those passes. And at the moment, we haven't got either. We haven't got quick players, but our sort of pass rate conversion, our percentage of successful passes is not high enough for a team to play through and get an attack going. We're being dispossessed way too easily.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mike, I'll come to you on that subject as well, mate. And
Mhm.
like I said last night, and I will stick by it, and I have done for the last 2 seasons. A lot of these players are not good enough. I'm sorry who that upsets, but they are not good enough. They are really not good enough. And with that, everyone's going, "Oh, Gareth Ainsworth should be sacked. He shouldn't be the manager." I'll go with you with the game in the second half, but I'll also go with you on what are your thoughts on Gareth Ainsworth?
Okay. Well, for me, Ainsworth he's looking a bit perplexed because at the moment he's not getting the results that he wants out of the team that he's got at this moment in time. Now, I mean, the one thing that I see time and time again, and this, I don't know why fans are not wiser to it, is that Gareth Ainsworth is not going to come out at the end of a game, go into an interview and throw everybody under the bus. He's not going to do it, right? So what he says, you've got to take with a pinch of salt, because yes, it will be the same old lines, but that's how you deal with the media. That's how you address the media. Okay, it's not treating the fans like mugs or anything like that. It is very much this is the media. I am not going to do anything that's going to fracture the dressing room or other personnel within the club. What happens behind closed doors is a completely different matter. I hope that he gives some of those players like hell for leather, particularly the ones that should be doing better. So do I think he's the right man to take the club forward? I think the summer and when we get to maybe like end of year, end of December, will be quite telling, because if he can't do it in that time, is the 2-year project, whatever the hell that is, it'll be nearing its completion. So if he's not getting the results that are required to progress this club, then he's going to be asking questions of himself. The other thing that bothers me, I'm going to start going on a rant here, so I do apologise on this one, is that you've got one thing that Ainsworth does that really makes me a bit sort of like, why even bother saying it, is that one week he says, don't get on the case of the boys, get on my case, right? Yeah. We've all heard him say that. And yet in the press, he's kind of like, you can go after me in social media if you like. I don't read it. I'm like, what's the point? What's the point in all that? It's a complete contradiction or anything like that. So, basically you're saying the only time that you're going to accept anybody's like comments is going to be at a game, and you don't want that there. You do not want that there. And then it's very perplexing, but I just hope that he gets this team playing. We need something different to long throws, right? Long throws are not working. I've said this right all the way through the season. Long throws don't beat the first man. They very rarely yield results. Yeah, I've seen like when Hutton's been out of the team and Ogie's been out of the team, because technically there are two long throwers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Whilst they've been out of the team, we've been doing shorter throws and they've been a lot more productive. Okay, so when you got need to cut out the long throws, the long balls and everything like that. When you've got a 6'5" target man who does not jump, even if he's not challenged, what chance do you have to knock it down or anything like that? I don't understand why he doesn't jump. It's very minimal. I'm 44. I can jump higher than that, right? I'm just putting that one out there. I mean, my knees may go in different directions after I do it, but at least I do it. It's a different matter. But it just, I don't know whether he thinks I'm 6'5", I don't need to jump, but absolutely he does. And like I said, I've seen this when he's not even been challenged. It's
and go on. Sorry.
No, and at the moment we've got two fullbacks in Hutton and Clark whose crossing either doesn't beat the first man or it goes absolutely wild. Okay, so over hits and everything like that. The thing is, like, when you see the opposition putting in crosses, we struggle to deal with it at times, particularly in recent times. But when our crosses in are so easy to deal with the majority of the time. Now, in the first half, I saw that we had 13 attempts at a cross and only one reached its intended target. Let that sink in for a little bit there. Yeah. 13 attempts and only one going on. And it's similar with, like, when you've got like the possession and everything like that. Somebody tried convincing me on social media saying, that they're pretty, decent passing stats, like passing accuracy stats and things like that. I'm thinking, yeah, but when that passing is sideways and back to bump up those numbers, it does not give an accurate figure. No. It does not give an accurate picture of what's going on in the game. It's just like, come on, if the game was played on, like, paper with stats, it'd be a different outcome, wouldn't it? But it's not. So I'm going to shut up for a little bit now because my voice is going, and I'm sure somebody else would like to talk for a little bit.
There go, Bex, and I'll pass that over to you, mate.
Yeah, I'll go. Just touching on one thing that Mike just said, I'd like to see whether what goes on at training is the same as what happens in matches, because it would go an awful long way to explaining what's happened to our defence, because historically we've had a decent enough defence and this season it seems to be falling apart. But if at training, the people putting the crosses in for the defenders to practice defending are the same ones who are not doing accurate crossing during the match, they're not learning to defend against good crosses because they're not getting good crosses to defend in training. And it could be that they're managing it in training and it's not coming off in a match. But that's something I think would be kind of quite interesting to see. Could they bring in some people to help them defend crosses who can actually cross the ball in the first place? I think in terms of Gareth, I mean, I'm going to just repeat what I've said on social media earlier this evening. They've got to give him at least till the summer. I think the real test is going to come in October, because every season that's when we start dropping off and falling down and it all goes wrong and people start flapping and panicking. And I think if Gareth can rebuild the squad the way he wants it in the summer, so that when we get to the end of September, we're on a good run and we can maintain that, that is going to give people faith in him, which is going to keep the confidence in the squad. I think if we start having a repeat of what's happened this season and last season, that's when fans are going to start to lose him. And I know you said, Chris, you think Christmas is going to be when you sort of want to start seeing those results.
I think that's
I think October, really, we should be starting to see the difference. And I don't think he can ditch the whole squad. With 16 out of contract, you just can't bring in 16 new players and expect it to work. I don't think that works financially or tactically. I think they need to look at where the big problem areas are and get a few out and get those replaced. There are some players I think it's more urgent we get rid of than others. And I think he's going to have to look at what he wants from the squad in terms of which players he wants to bring in, because I don't think he's going to change a formation to fit the players we've got. He needs to get the players in for the formation he wants to play.
No, sorry. Can I just add something on what you were saying there, Bex? That you were saying about getting rid of that many players is going to be counterproductive in terms of team cohesion and everything like that. I agree with that to an extent, but the thing is that when you've got the group of players that we've got at the moment, okay, there's if you choose to hang on to some so that you don't affect the cohesion as much, but they're still pretty much not good enough for this for our ambitions. I'm not going to say not good enough for League Two. I'm sure they're good enough for League Two at some club, but for our ambitions and where we want to be, we're not looking to survival now. We're looking to really push and get out of this league. This is what we're trying to do. So I mean, I agree with that. It's just a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? Where we're if we get rid of all of those players, yes, there's a risk to team cohesion and everything like that. But if we go the other way and just get rid of what's necessary, then we're going to be hanging on to a lot of players that aren't good enough for this football club.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think the closest we've come to hearing what the 2-year plan actually is was when Gareth mentioned in an interview a couple of weeks ago about at the end of next season being up there in the playoffs. So clearly, whatever the big plan is, part of that is they want to make the playoffs next season. And I think we could find ourselves in a situation where he's forced to build a team that can challenge for the playoffs, to then make the rest of the changes the following summer if we're promoted, to then maintain a League One team.
But
it's just difficult because, as you say, if you don't have good players, you can't get out of the league anyway.
To be fair, from what I gathered from what Gareth said, is he come in and the 2-year plan was to make the team better. I don't want him to go. I don't agree with people saying he should be sacked because it's just counterproductive. But at the same time, surely that's the remit of any manager to come in and make a team better.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely the case, that any manager that comes in, they're always tasked with improvement, etc. The thing is, right, when you've got the group of players that we've got, and if we want to challenge for the playoffs, surely it's worth the risk. Surely it's worth the risk of getting rid of a bit more and sacrificing that potential cohesion and everything like that to have a chance of going for those playoffs. Because if you retain a lot of what we got for next season, we are not going to even you can't even dream of challenging for playoffs. So for me, it is absolutely worth the risk.
Yeah.
To get rid of more, to push on, and dare to dream in that way. The thing is, I think fans like myself, and I'm sure there's many others that are the same, we are sick to death of the great start to the season. League titles are not won by the end of September, and we are sick to death. I say the royal we anyway, but I am sick to death with our season being done by February, and having nothing to look forward to between February and the end of season kind of thing. I mean, yes, we had the part of the unbeaten run when Ainsworth came in and everything like that. But the thing is, we're not going to have that new manager. We're not going to have that new excitement. We're still going to have the same manager. We're still going to have the same players. So, we're not going to have that particular aspect to look forward to. So it's just very much a case of we're sick of this perpetual cycle of mid-table mediocrity. And mediocrity is a very good word for what we're doing. And it's not just this season, previous seasons as well. I know we had to sort of break the bank a little bit to keep in the league, which is great. But since then it's been we've got a lot of sort of players that are kind of they seem to tick the boxes at the time, but they've just not worked out. And too many of them have just not worked out.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I know it's my favourite subject. Can we look at the recruitment team? Because
tin hat on. Here we go.
No,
Bomb's about to go off.
Recently. Yeah, okay. Ronan Hale, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
looks like a decent player.
Yeah.
But if you look down the squad, you look down the ones that are out of contract in the summer. If you think about first team players, what would you? It's got to be recruit. It's got to be something. There's a common denominator with players aren't good enough. Therefore, it then leans itself to recruitment. I'm not subscribing to this whole thing of, Joe Comper's got to go, because essentially he dots the I's and crosses the T's. I don't think that's it. But if you look at the likes of Hess, and I will go in on Hess. Yes, he's a club legend, whatever, right? But that was then. This is now, right? You're recruiting players that you're like, oh yeah, okay, so Elliot Nevitt, for example, had one good season at Crewe. One good season. Right? Before that at Tranmere, that everywhere else, he scored fucking nothing. I'm sorry to swear, but I'm getting a bit pissed off with this. Right? You then look at Aaron Rowe. He had one good season at Crewe. He did nothing before that. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at the likes of Amani Little. He had one good season at AFC Wimbledon. Does that mean that he's a good player? Right? We're now in a position for me where you're sitting there going, "Oh, okay. Well, we've signed these players because we thought that they were good." Yeah. Okay. Fine. You thought that they were good, but one season does not warrant signing a player. This is why I like the Ronan Hale signing, because he's had multiple good seasons and he's been consistent with that over a course of time. Whereas you've got like Amani Little, you've got Aaron Rowe, you've got the amount of players that we've got in this squad. And I really like the Omar Beckel signing because he has had really good consistency over a few years. Yes, he might be 34 years old, but I still think that he's going to have 2 or 3 good seasons with us. Is the issue, and I'm going to sit here. I don't think that a lot of these players are good enough, and the reason I don't think a lot of these players are good enough is because we haven't done our homework on enough of them to a degree that we should have done, and scouted them to a degree that we should have done. So for me, that falls on Andy Hessenthaler. It's 100%. You should not be signing a player just because he's had one good season. Jack Nolan, he had one good season at Accrington Stanley, and then we've signed him. Oh, because he scored 17 goals. One season, mate. One season doesn't make you a good football player. You can have a fluke season, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Every
player has a purple patch, yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So I'm a little bit sick of this when, recruitment's this, recruitment's that. I've been assured that Gareth gets sign off of everything, yeah? So fair enough. Like, Sam Vokes, for example, is probably one of our best strikers at the moment because no one else is actually doing it. It's a low bar. Gareth McCleary, for me, is he produces things. He pushes things. Yes, he might be 38, 39, but he still pushes things. That's a good signing. When you've got a majority of a squad that was signed on a whim, for me, an actual whim by previous incumbents, by everything else, by Hessenthaler, by whoever you want to put your hand on, Jacket, you want to put your hand on, whatever, right? You cannot build a squad around a whim. And this is what we seem to be doing. And it's very well and good saying, yes, in that January, we needed to sign players. We did. We 100% did, because otherwise we were going down. But we're still following that same path in my eyes, because you've gone from signing players because we needed to stay up to signing them on a whim for 1 year, for one season of good football. And it just winds me up because we will be going through this process again and again and again, right? And Joe Comper even said, we signed a player we knew that was injured. We all know that was Josh Andrews, right? Yes, we've changed it now, but how are we doing that? Like, you're a professional football club. Why are you doing that? And why are you allowing people to be in stupid positions? And Joe Comper even said online to, Kent online, oh yeah, too many people in the club over the last 3 years have let the club down. All right, Joe, fine. But you've been one of them, right? And a lot of them still exist. So you've let the Gallinsons down because you're signing these players, yet you're part of the problem. I'm not saying that Joe should go. I don't think he should. But by saying that, you're throwing everyone under the bus. But all of these people that have been thrown under the bus are still in position.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, okay. I think from what I've seen and from what I've heard from speaking to people in the recruitment team, a lot of their processes start with data. And it starts with looking at stats. It looks, we want a pacey winger. So they get this massive spreadsheet up with all the pacey wingers. And then they go, oh, he looks good. We'll go and have a look at him, which is fine in theory. The problem with that is there are so many things that a spreadsheet can't tell you. And when you watch our team play at the moment, the really good link-up play is between people like McCleary and Dak. And the reason for that is that they have game IQ. They are intelligent players with a brain, and they know exactly what they're going to do with the ball. And no spreadsheet is going to show you that. The only way you will see that is by watching game after game after game. And I actually think we'd have a better recruitment process if they spent more time out and about and less time in front of the spreadsheets, because I think they're relying too heavily on the numbers, and I think that's what's letting them down.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly the point I was going to make. That when it comes to like scouting and the reliance on data and everything like that, there are things within that process that isn't accounted for, which is mentality. Mentality is something that you see that when you're scouting. I'm not going to go in on individuals or anything like that, because I don't know the full sort of ins and outs or anything like that, but there is a fundamental issue with the way that we're scouting players at the moment. Okay. So, of course, when we've got that mentality where, I mean, we've had it where, if we're a goal behind, we'll push and get ourselves back in it. And, Ainsworth's always said, like, my boys are always in it and everything like that. But the thing is, like, when we go a goal behind, sometimes lately we've been gut punched. And it's become a bit more difficult mentally to do that. So with the sort of like recruitment process, that there's that fundamental issue that there's plenty of things. I mean, going off data and programs that have all this data within it, yes, it will increase the scope of what you can look for, but it will not determine the quality in the truest sense. And that is where we're going wrong.
And it's a global program. I mean, they're using it to look at players from all around the world. So they can't even pick out the best 100 and say we're going to scope them, because that might still not be the best 100.
Yeah, well, Hess is probably looking for the next Paolo Gazzaniga. He's been dining out on that one for a little while.
Yeah, but like I know he's a club legend and all that, but I just think that you need to get rid of Deadwood. I know he's a club legend, but I really don't think that having Hess in position is a good idea. We do have a comment, and I told Richard I would actually bring this up. Chris, 2 years, can you look at the point I'm making, RE Wickham? So when Gareth went into Wickham, they were, abject, crap. He cleared the players out. He then brought a lot of his own players in, and they ended up getting promoted. I think it was it 2 consecutive seasons, something like that? But this is what we're saying. What we're 10 months, 11 months into a two-year plan. If we get rid of him now, what's the point? Like, you're basically going back to square one. You are basically, we can't keep having managers come in, have 6 months, have a year, and then sacking them, because then these players are going to pick up their game, and then they're going to get rewarded with new contracts because the manager's like, oh, wow, these players are amazing. So I think Rich is right. Like Wickham, it took a while for him to get there.
Yeah.
We didn't bring him in to be a flash in the pan manager. We brought him in so that he could build something. Everyone after 10, 11 months trying to turn around to me and say, oh, he needs to go. No, it's not him. It's the players. It really is the players, guys.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
and I'll stick by it. I will 100% stick by it. And I did last season, and I have this season. Half of these, if not 70% of these players, are not good enough to be a Gillingham player. Right? It's as simple as that for me. It's clear cut.
Can I just add that a lot of the players that we've got in the squad have seen multiple managers sacked.
Yep.
Exactly.
But they're still there.
Exactly.
And they're the ones
still there. So the manager falls on the sword of recruitment because they're signing shocking players or players that are substandard. Yet we've got. I honestly think that I'll get killed for this. Mark Bonner got Cambridge promoted. Right? You're not a terrible manager if you get a team promoted. Yes, okay, it was during COVID, and I understand. I don't rate Mark Bonner personally, but you don't do that if you've not got something about you. Same with Neil Harris. The same with John Coleman was an okay manager at Accrington. He got them promoted. He comes here and he couldn't get a tune out of any of them. You then get Gareth in, who for me, got Wickham promoted on multiple occasions from different divisions. It's that the common denominator here is the players. And once them players are out and he can actually get his actual like grasp on it. And I understand that someone say, oh yeah, but he re-signed Connor Masters and he re-signed Max Clark, he re-signed Bradley Dack. Bradley Dack's our top goal scorer this season. Like he's our best player. Connor
So was
Masterson.
Jaden Clark at one point.
Huh?
I was just saying, so was Jaden Clark at one point.
Well, yeah, there is that. But you know, I just it annoys me that like the happy trigger analysis and lazy analysis is to go for the manager. Like, why are you going for the manager when a lot of these players were here under previous incumbents and we're still shit, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to sort of bring up like former managers and things like that, I think I agree with with Harris that people went for him, and I think he did go a bit too soon. If the trajectory had continued, it would have been inevitable, and plus, I think he would have left us for Millwall anyway in the end. Bonner, I disagree fundamentally on that one, simply because there is a reason why he's not been a football manager since.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah,
so I mean, Coleman. I wouldn't say that he didn't get a tune out of us. He stopped the rot.
Yeah. And he puts on
was
that
inherited.
run.
Yeah, exactly. So the unbeaten run started with him before Ainsworth came in. So he did stop the rot. He did get a bit of a tune out of him. I don't think it would have worked longer term, because I think the way that Coleman manages simply wouldn't have been conducive to the soft underbelly.
The nicey stuff around the club.
Yeah, the soft underbelly that we've seen on so many occasions. So, in terms of like seeing some of these managers off, yes, I think there are those who deserved it, and then I think there's some that don't. I think the problem with Stephen Clements is that he thought he could play better football with our players in League Two, and that was a massive mistake. They were not capable of carrying out his vision, and they were never going to be. I mean, it's the reason why he didn't really manage at Barrow either. He's just not. He just wasn't a League Two manager. And I mean, what's he doing these days? He's a coach again, isn't he? So
no, he got sacked at Blackpool because Steve Bruce got sacked. So
okay, but the thing is, he was coaching there, wasn't he? He wasn't a manager there, was he?
No.
But
this is another manager that we've had that has not actually gone back into management since, because they realise that they're not really actually football managers. They're different. They're built for different roles.
To be fair, I think with Stephen Clements, if we're going back to Stephen Clements, I mean, we don't have to, but if we are, then the one thing that I would say in his defence is, he's been brought up around like Premier League, like tactics. He's been brought around Premier.
Yeah,
it doesn't always translate when you then bring it down to League Two. I'm not the best coach in the world, but I have coached. I've also played football, but it doesn't translate when you spent so many years after leaving Tottenham and then becoming a coach. It doesn't translate to move it down, because he's come down thinking, oh, okay, well, I can play a 5 and I can play this and we can play tippy-tappy football and we can do this. It doesn't work in League Two. It's really not the league to be playing tippy-tappy football. I'm not saying that he would have done any better if he'd have been given the chance after that season. It's a difficult one when you come in November, isn't it? Regardless, and it's your first managerial job. So I think that was a little bit of a faux pas on Brad and Shannon's part, personally. You can't. It doesn't translate, and it's such a different world, and it's such a different game. You get these young players that come down from the Premier League that go on loan to League Two clubs, and they're very good players, but they walk into a League Two team, they get snapped in 5 minutes, and they're out for the next 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Hurtado.
That's just what I was going to say, Mike. Exactly who I was thinking of.
I was thinking about
Jimmy J
Asher
as
as
well.
well.
Jimmy J had the
The,
same
the streets will
problem.
never forget. The streets will
I know.
never forget.
Asher Ogbonone, like last season, come in, and I was really excited about Asher Ogbonone coming in, and he literally like got snapped in his after the first 3 or 4 games that he was playing, and that was it. We saw him he came back against Barrow away, but it was like 1 or 2 games after that, and just like you need like at this level, you need grunt work, you need players that are going to grunt it out, and
physicality as well.
you can't be okay. You do get certain things. I think against Crewe, that O'Reilly, who was on loan from Aston Villa, he was quite good. But at the same time, how long is that going to last until he gets like a 6'5" shithouse, take him out, and that's him done. So, but anyway, I digress.
I think we all did, mate. I think we all went off on a tangent. Yeah, you're not alone.
I did have a point that I was going to make or try and ask people for, but clearly can't think of it. So if we're gonna look at the team, we're gonna look at the options that we've got going forward for the rest of the season. I don't like to call players out, but at the same time, I think we're at the point now where we should be calling players out. This whole clapping last night, I don't think was, oh yeah, you've done a good job. I think it was a realization between the fan base where, the season's over. Like the season is really over. Do you think that we should start playing the youngsters and only playing the players that will be here next season? Or Bex, do you feel that we're just going through the motions now?
I think neither. I think we need to keep putting out a team that we think has a chance of winning, because, we've just talked about Gareth being under a lot of pressure. Whatever else happens this season, we have got to finish higher up the table than we did last season. We have got to do a better job. What that ends up looking like, I think a lot of people would say, actually, if we can squeeze into the top 10, all things considered, that wouldn't be the worst result. Do I see that happening at the moment? No, we've got to start getting some wins for that to happen. But if we start putting out the youth players, if we start looking at, well, this is who we're going to keep next season and messing with things, if we end up in 17th position, that looks worse than where we're at now, because we are at least higher than where we were last season. And I think the fans are so desperate to see something that can be construed as improvement that the club have to show something. And I think they have to try and push on. And normally we wouldn't be that bothered between finishing 14th or 12th. Actually, I feel like this season it matters purely from a fan perspective, because they've got to try and do something to get the fans on side. And they've got to do the players have to do something to prove why they shouldn't be the ones to go in the summer.
Yeah. I just think that a lot of them are just not good enough, to be honest. They'd probably be all right in National League. But I said it on Monday's show, and I think it's quite right, where, you can have players that aren't good enough and players that are good enough, and you can actually make something look like something of a squad. But I just feel there's too many at the moment that are either like just taking their paycheck and going home. And this is what I will go to it, because it's just come to my head, Mike. Last night when Gareth said about, the players aren't under pressure to win. It's a real niggle for me, mate, because I'm not being funny. When I used to play, pressure made me thrive. Pressure used to literally get me off my feet and be like, right, okay, we're under pressure, let's do it, right? And this nicey stuff, and the players aren't under pressure to perform, they're not under pressure to win. Like, it's a little bit of a niggle, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, one can only hope that was not what he intended to say. And that he probably got a bit sort of mixed up with his words and his intentions, kind of thing. Because yes, there is a pressure to perform and to win, whatever way that you look at it. He may have this is purely speculating, and I could be wrong about this, but he may have just been trying to say something to try and take the pressure off the players a little bit. But what came across, well, raised more than a few eyebrows. Let's put it that way. So I can only hope that his intention was to put across something else than that. Well, to try and take the pressure off the players, but don't say the players aren't under pressure to win. Of course, they're under pressure to win. Because their performances deem whether they stay in the team in the first 11. It deems whether they're sort of like part of the squad at all. It deems whether they get the opportunity, if they are going to leave the club, to put themselves in the shop window. I don't agree with the notion that we should be looking to bring in youngsters now, because I think it would be absolutely the wrong time. Why would you want to damage young players mentally by putting them in that situation? I mean, it's almost like saying we've stopped caring, and fans will stop caring as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
no, I
if
get
fans
that.
stop caring, then they stop coming, and then you lose money, and then you've got less money to spend in the summer. So
It's that vicious circle, and that will happen. If you show that you don't care, then the fans will vote with their feet, and that is an inevitable fact of football.
Yeah, it didn't sit well with me. It was kind of like John Coleman's comment last season that he didn't bring any players on because the pitch was frozen.
Let's
and
not
Mike
get me started
let's
on
start
that.
with the frozen pitch.
That's not
Don't go there
any of
again,
his.
Chris.
Honestly, I don't think I've got a soapbox big enough for that. So
Yeah, but no, it was a very strange comment, because like when I used to play, it was like pressure would literally spur you on. Like it would be one thing, and if you're a professional football player, I'm not saying I was, but if you're a professional football player, like for me, you make damn sure that pressure tells, and you make damn sure if fans are kicking off and saying you're rubbish or you're this, that, and the other, you make damn sure that you use that and utilize it as something to push you on and kick you on, right? And I just don't think the mentality of some of these players, I don't know whether that's because it's too nicey at the club, and I think maybe that could be a thing, right? Because John Coleman was a little bit hard on people. That's an old school manager for me. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. If he's hard on people, that's how it should be. Not this, oh, okay, you okay with your pretty little dinner in the players' lounge? Are you okay with this? You okay with that? Okay, all right. Well, on Saturday, don't worry about it. If you have a bad game, I'll just give you a pat on the shoulder and it's okay. Don't cry about it. No, bollocks. Even when I was playing, it used to be like you'd have a bad game. You got grilled, mate. You got grilled for hours, right? Not this, oh, okay, everything's fine. No, bollocks. I'm sorry, but we play as fans, we pay money to watch this team throughout the width and breadth of this country, right?
Yeah.
We aren't on to 3,000-4,000 grand a week, right? We're not on that. We pay that money to go to ridiculous places to watch this team. I'm not buying it, and I'm not subscribing to, oh, okay, they don't feel pressure to win. Well, if you don't feel pressure to win, then we won't feel pressure to spend hundreds of pounds each season to go and bloody watch it then. If that's the case. Like it just really grinds on me, mate. It really pisses me off.
Yeah, it just, when I think, to what my management style was like at a former place where I worked. Now this is this is a metaphor that I'm not sure I should say, but I will anyway. Okay.
Brilliant.
So
you're not selling your missus again, are you?
No, not this time. Not this time.
Yeah,
Gailey's
Sam Gale made the mistake last night.
Gailey's not done enough. Yeah. Keep your hands to yourself, Gailey. Now, there was when I was going into the toilets at the place where I worked, and some guy came out. Okay, and he was someone that I managed, and I've gone in there, and he hasn't pulled the flush. He's left a steamer in there, right? So I've come out. And I've shamed him in front of everybody. I said, you get back out there and sort that lot out. That's exactly what Coleman did with the frozen pitch. It's like, that was crap. You get back out there and you sort that out. And the shame that comes with it. Now, that was how I did things, kind of thing, And, sometimes you do need to be a bit of a bastard. Not not necessarily John Coleman levels of bastard, but they, you can't. I mean, I'm just hoping that behind closed doors, what Ainsworth is saying to the players, that he needs to do better, that he's going for them a little bit. Okay, not so much that it would damage them or anything like that, but it is stronger than what he is portraying in the media, and that is the only hope that I've got on that one. We'll never be privy to it. We'll never be privy to it. But you hope full well that when there's players, I mean, when he says they know that I'm not happy, I'm just hoping that degree of the way that he shows that he's not happy is not so light, but they think, well, actually, that weren't that bad, so I can get away with that again.
I would just add to that, going back to the pressure thing. If they are really serious about a push for promotion next season and they find themselves in the playoffs, there is going to be huge pressure in those playoff games. There is going to be huge pressure if they find themselves at Wembley. There is going to be huge pressure to keep themselves in that top six. So they have to get used to playing under pressure.
Yeah, I just think they're all a little bit, not all of them, some of them are really with it, but I'm not going to name names because I don't like to do it necessarily. But
I think we've done it already.
I did last season, and with Jack Nolan, but I just think that we definitely need, these players need to feel pressure. They need to be accountable for their actions. They also need to sit there and go, well, I'm a professional football player. This is my job. I'm in a pressurized situation, and I should take a lot of that pressure. I mean, yes, as you say, Mike, I think Gareth is probably, smokes and mirrors it to a certain degree with the guys, but at the same time, to come out and say the players don't feel pressure to win, for me, it's just a little bit close to the knuckle, mate, and I can't accept that from a manager because, you should be turning around, not calling your players out necessarily, because I'm a manager, not a football manager, but I'm a manager. And if my team are doing rubbish, I'm telling them. I'm absolutely telling them. I'm saying, you need to deal with pressure. You need to deal with the fast-paced environment that we're in. Otherwise, you're gone. You are really gone. Yeah. So I'm hoping that he's doing that behind the scenes. I really do. Yeah. So anyway, we will quickly.
Well, I'm just going to add one more bit to it. Sorry, Chris. We're going to extend this show to an hour and a half, whether you like it or not, mate. But the thing is, when we go back to the discussion that we had about recruitment and everything like that, the thing is, we've talked about mentality is one of those faculties that isn't that you won't find on these spreadsheets and everything like that. You're absolutely right that these players that we're bringing in have got to learn not to crumble like an OXO cube.
Yeah,
it's it's very much it comes full circle, doesn't it? If you want mentally strong players and things like that, you've got to do a bit more due diligence on the players that you are scouting, because at the moment, like I said, we're bringing them in and they're being crushed like Rice Krispies under a bison, and it's and it's just terminology. And it's just not. It's not conducive to a promotion push, is it?
No, it's not, mate. It's not. And, it needs to change. We can't keep going on this cycle every year where, a lot of them are kept and then we bring a few in. And I feel sorry for everyone that goes to games every week. Like I said the other night, and, this club for me isn't about players. It's not about the owners. It's not about the staff. It's about the fans. And we've been subjected to some absolute trollop, not only in the last 2 or 3 years since Brad and Shannon have come in, but before that under Scally, when we was in League One, and then we got relegated, and then we was we really do need something to change, and I don't know what that is. I'd like to surmise what it is, and I really think that it is. Sorry, it is the recruitment side of things, because I don't really know what else there is, mate. Brad and Shannon have put their money in. They've helped us. They've kept us up. We've then been stable-ish. in League Two, but something needs to change to kick on. And for me, we need a real good recruitment department, a real good, strong, like no shit people at the top to push us forward, because at the moment it's a bit fluffy, and you can't be fluffy in the world of football. So
Well, something is happening when they reach the doors of Gillingham Football Club. Something is happening to these players, because yes, I totally take on board the point about, like, one season wonders and all that kind of stuff. My turn to cough. But the thing is, like, it's happening far too often where players are coming in with such high hopes, and something is happening whilst at Gillingham Football Club that turns them into absolute mush. And the thing is, nobody knows what that answer is, because if it was an easy answer, then we would have addressed it a long time ago. I mean, I'd imagine that even the people at the top are thinking, well, we think we're doing all the right things. What the hell is happening? And, it's the same for the fans as well. Like, we don't know what the answer is. We've tried, like, changing management about, like our socks. That hasn't worked. We've shipped out a few players and whatnot, and and brought a few more back in, and like it's not quite worked yet. I mean, we've got Cameron Antwi, for crying out loud, and I'm just thinking, like, he must have come here thinking, right, I can't wait to get started on this and everything like that. Bang on, Glenn, bang on, mate. But we've got Cameron Antwi, and he's come in like with such high hopes, and he's like, I'm getting 10 minutes a game.
Yeah. I don't know, mate. I mean,
it just seems so pointless. It seems pointless at the moment.
I can sit there and plot out things that I think should change. I mean, Brad and Shannon have obviously pumped a lot of money into this club, so we can't necessarily blame them. I do feel that they've been misguided. Whether that's Scally when they first come in, whether that's now. As I said earlier, I do think that Joe turning around and saying that they've been misinformed over the last 3 years, when he is still there. Not saying it's Joe's fault, but yeah, it's a little bit of a faux pas on his part to say that people within the club have misguided him over the last 3 years, when he's there and a lot of the others are there as well.
It's accountability, isn't it? It's a lack of accountability on that front, because where I work, there's full accountability. Everything that you do. I mean, I'm a salesman, so mine's driven by numbers. Every position should be driven on certain KPIs, kind of thing. Mine is based on revenue and things like that. Hess will have his own KPIs and things like that. If it's a targets game and he's falling short with these targets, then of course you've got to start entertaining the thought of, we need to go in a different direction. You've got to entertain that thought.
Yep. Right, so I'm going to ask both of you a question before we move on to our man of the matches, because I appreciate that it's gone on for long enough, us babbling on.
I think we're making good points, mate.
We are making good points. And it's a good discussion. I'll just ask you one each, yes or no answer. Do you think that managing director is out of Joe's depth? And I'll go with you, Bex.
No, I don't think. I just think he's got to be allowed to actually do that job and not be expected to do other people's jobs.
Right. And Mike?
I think he's suited to the managing director role because of what that role entails. You need to have commercial acumen, which he has, of course. And if he just stays within that remit, I don't see any sort of problem with that. I think so many people, like, when we run out of managers to blame, I think the next one up after that is Joe Comper, kind of thing. And so the thing is, but I don't know how best to say this, but I'll try my best on this. That when people were going after, like, Joe Comper, when they run out of people to blame and everything like that, the thing is, like, Joe, what comes with that role is the ultimate accountability and responsibility. Okay, short of ownership of the club. So with that, he has to be prepared for that certain degree of flack. Some of that criticism is warranted, and I'm sure he'll appreciate it. But I know some people go overboard. But there needs to be that understanding that I'm managing director. I have the ultimate accountability for how other departments are operating. And I have to be prepared for the fact that, I will come in for criticism because for whatever is happening in those other departments. So, I don't think he's out of his depth. I think he's doing all right. He's absolutely fine, but he just needs to he just needs to bear in mind that, you will come in for this, and I'm sure he understands that.
Yeah.
Mike, we're not good at one-word answers.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
clearly not. Clearly not.
Sorry.
No, but
Sorry.
it wasn't. That's not my fault. So I think Joe should take some accountability rather than saying, people around have been bad advised the Gallants. And so I think he should take some accountability for them, not only them comments, but he's been part of that for the last 3 years as well. So he should take some flack for that. Doesn't mean that I think that he's a bad managing director. As I say, he dots the I's and crosses the T's for me. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to man of the matches, and I will go with Mike first. We don't have one for you, Bex, because it was literally 2 minutes before we started that you ended up coming on. So, Mike, I'll go with your Omar Beckles, your reasons as to why.
Big up the Beckles. To be honest with you, when you look at how the team were performing, he was the one that probably had the least errors. I know it's a terrible, terrible reason to base a man of the match on, but I think he was the least erroneous out of all of the players that we had. I think Mackenzie and Little had probably one of their the worst game in a Jill shirt as a combination, and it's a terrible time for them both to have an off night. But Gale needed to do better with the goal. Smith, lost his man for the goal. I think Beckles was quite solid. So, like I said, it's a terrible reason to give, but it's the only thing I could think of, and it was hard. It was really hard.
Yeah, it was a low bar, mate, wasn't it? But yeah, so I've gone for Omar Beckles as well, pretty much for the same reasons as Mike. I think that out of everyone, he just showed that solid head. And yeah, so Bex, I know we haven't got a graphic for you, mate, so I'm just going to click it off and you go for yours.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be boring and agree and say Beckles, because where's the fun in that? I'm probably going to get daggers for this, but actually I thought Smith had a decent game, so I'm giving him man of the match. Yeah, he wasn't perfect. There were some errors, but there was also a lot of really good stuff that he was doing. He made some really important clearances from the box. He had some quite nice link-up play with Beckles, working together to get the ball out. There was some decent communication going on there, which when you compare it to how he's been playing in recent weeks, I saw improvement there. Yeah.
There we go. Brilliant. Thank you very much. And sorry, Bex, because obviously we didn't have a graphic for you because it was literally so close to lifetime. So we quickly move on to our look ahead, and we do play Oldham on Saturday. So we've lost, won, lost, and Oldham have lost, drawn 1. So Bex, I'll stay with you. Your hopes and aspirations for Saturday, and do you think that if we lose this one, things are going to turn very, very toxic?
I wouldn't necessarily say it would turn toxic. I think if we lose this one, everyone is going to say season over. I know a lot of people are saying that already. My hopes and aspirations for this one, we have to score first, I think. We've got to get in there and actually not just do this thing where we have a good 15 minutes at the start. We've got to make the most of that. We've got to score some goals. I'd like to say a win. I think it probably 2-1. I think we are going to concede, but we've just got to get in there and get more goals than the other team, which I know sounds ridiculously basic, but that is how you win football.
That's
how
football genius. Bex McDonald.
I know. Yeah. Einstein. Thanks, Einstein.
Managers seem to forget this critical thing. You've got to score more goals than the other team.
I know, innit? Yeah.
I should bring him in as an advisor. Yeah.
I know, innit? Yeah. Fucking hell. Thank you very much. Mike, yeah, I'll go with you, mate. And after Bex is very, very basic, how it should be.
Manager of the year.
Jesus Christ, yeah, Mike, your hopes and aspirations for Saturday, mate.
My hopes and aspirations consist of hoping that the players are actually under some pressure to win. That's the main thing. I mean, we should always go out to win, like, you know, with a degree of pressure. It's got to happen. So, I mean, Bex is right. I think that the first goal will be incredibly important. I mean, but the thing is, we've seen it happen so many times where we've gone in front and then we've invited the pressure, and then it was only a matter of time before we concede again. They wouldn't understand that, bloody hell.
Yeah, it's because you speak sense.
Not wrong.
Richard's written his death wish there, isn't he? Really?
I love it.
Yeah. She will find you and she will kill you. Anyway, with the
Liam Neeson.
yeah.
I have a special set of skills.
Do you know what? I've completely lost my train of thought now. But,
yeah. We think we should win.
Oh yeah, sorry. The first goal will be like crucial, but we've seen it happen so many times where like we've gone in front and then we've invited that pressure, and it's been a case of when rather than if we concede. If we go in front, our mentality and the way we play after we score that goal will be very, very telling about like, you know, how we go forward. If we invite that pressure, you might as well just sack it off. We're all going to get nervy and everything like that. But, you know, if we score that goal and then, like, you know, keep pressing on, fantastic. And you know, against an opposition like Oldham, no disrespect to Oldham, but I'm going to disrespect them anyway. You know, we are more than capable of doing that against them. I think it will either be we'll control the game and we'll win the game, or we'll be the architects of our own downfall.
Yeah,
I can't see the game going any other way.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. I personally think that maybe we will be a little bit lapsadaisical and we won't quite be on top, and then it'll be scrappy for me. I don't see that this team are going to go from losing 1-0 the way they did last night to all of a sudden being world beaters. I don't know what's happened. I think the last time I saw us play really well was earlier on in the season against Chesterfield, funnily enough. So, yeah. Right, guys, so we are at the end of the show. So, obviously, we are sponsored by Snod Hershey's Car Sales and Service Station and Wicked Creative, and in partnership with Her Game 2 and Sports Social Podcast Network. We are also on Facebook, X, and YouTube. So join us at the Facebook group on The View from the Medway. Follow us on X at TVFTM. We are 10 followers away from 1,000 now. So if you're not, why not? Please do. We've given it till the end of the season to get to 1,000, and we've still got 15, 16 games to go, which is great. Or you can subscribe at the View from Medway Fancast on YouTube, which is free as well. All of which are free. No charges anywhere here to be seen. So before we go, why did I do that? Before we go, any other business, any lasting thoughts before we shoot off this evening? And I'll go with Mike, yourself first.
Right, I'm glad you asked, Chris, because I just want to address one particular thing. Here we go. The drummer at Chesterfield. The drummer at Chesterfield, right? Wow. Now, he reminded me, have you ever seen Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
Yep.
Yeah. You know Brent?
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, he's probably doing all that crap when he was young and he was probably cute. But now he's a bit older, it's a bit weird, and he still only knows one tune. So, if any Chesterfield fans are like watching this at all, please find him. Please, you know, insert that drum sideways up the rectum. Yeah, please.
You could shove your fucking drum up your ass. You could shove your fucking drum up your ass. Yep. We've had it a few times this season. I think Shrewsbury, we had it. We were there. We had it at MK Dons. We had it at Colchester. I think
it was that game where they had 3 drummers, one in each stand. I forget which one that was.
I think that was at Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had 3 drums. They had a drum in each bloody stand, and you know, when you're just like, oh mate.
Awful.
Did you notice though that at Chesterfield, where the drummer was, there was a wide gap around it because nobody wanted to be associated with him. Nobody likes you, mate. Nobody likes you.
Yeah. There we go.
That's me done. That's me done.
And the view from the Medway Fancast can categorically say that we hate drums. So, with that said, Bex, any other business on your part?
No, just to back up what Mike said, no drums.
There we go. So we do have a few comments. I think we will think we will win, but start Antwi. Let's see what he can do. Yeah, I agree with that 100%, Glenn. Great show, fantastic points raised. Thank you very much. As of Monday, we will be doing a fan zone at the end, guys. So when you do put your comments in, please I don't mean to be an arsehole by saying this, but can we make them relevant? Because obviously we do, the show moves on so quick that we do get to some comments, and we've already spoken about that point. We will try throughout the show to bring them up, but yeah, we will be doing a fan zone at the end. So yeah, you can do that. I think Monday will be David hosting. Monday will also be, Bex was meant to be on Monday. Might have to change that up now. Bloody boring hearing you twice in 5 days.
Thanks.
And now I'm going to get killed.
Yeah, Bex has now switched target.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? Yeah, you're welcome, Richard.
I'm going to run out of space on my list.
And she knows where you live.
So it'll be David, it'll be Warren, it'll be possibly, it'll be Eddie, and then one other. So, without further ado, we will finish there. I don't think it's been as bad tonight as I thought it would. I'm really fuming about last night's result, but it's nice to digest it and get people on. Thanks again to Bex for coming on last minute. So we will say goodbye. So I've been Chris, he's been Mike, she's been Bex. Good night and up the Jules.
The view from the Medway.